floods submerged Luzon, netizens took to social media to call for the revival of Project NOAA. The government defunded the flagship program 3 years ago. Let's now have an exchange with the project's proponent and now the executive director of the UP Resilience Institute, Mahar Lagmay. Thank you so much for joining us on the program, Mahar. If Project NOAA was retained by the government, how could it have helped in risk prevention and mitigation today with the onslaught of these back-to-back typhoons?
Yes, before I answer that, I'd like to clarify some misconceptions that NOAA is not around anymore. In fact, in 2017, UP, through the efforts of the Board of Regents, as well as the President, President Danilo Concepcion, adopted NOAA. And it is now the UP NOAA Center. The researchers that used to be working for Project NOAA are still around. Not that many, but they're still around. Before, we used to be part of the pre-disaster risk assessment of the NDRRMC. And what we did before was to supply information to the NDRRMC. We were part of the what they call as the pre-disaster risk assessment, wherein if there's a typhoon, we would be there in the NDRRMC the whole day, the whole night, look for data sets, real-time information that we would convert into areas that would be hit by hazards. And the information was hazard-specific, area-focused, and time-bound. That information would in turn be converted by NDRMC into a warning. They would call the governor or the mayor because they have a list of barangays that would get impacted at least 3 to 6 hours in advance.
But is there still cooperation, Mahar, between Project NOAA, which is now the under the UP Resilience Institute, and the government?
Yes, it is the core component of the UP Resilience Institute. So since that time in 2017, we have transferred our focus to helping out LGUs in their planning process. We help them out in their comprehensive land use plans. We help them out in crafting their disaster risk reduction management plans and climate change adaptation plans. But right now, our focus is to certain LGUs who seek our help. Like, for example, the City of Manila, Science City of Muñoz in Nueva Ecija, Batangas, Taysan, and Padre Garcia also in Batangas.
So, Mahar,
NOAA was there, yes.
Mahar, let's now listen to this to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque and what he had to say about Project NOAA.
Hindi ko na kung maalala kung ano yung project. I will backtrack, but I really don't remember the details of Project NOAA.
So, Mahar, you heard the presidential spokesperson. He doesn't really know much about Project NOAA, which was a project which was defunded 3 years ago. Is this government so naive and uninformed that they don't even know the initiative?
No, I think what the presidential spokesperson said was he did not know the details. I'm sure Harry knows about it, has heard about it, but what he said was just he didn't know the details. So probably he was just being careful that he might be able to answer something that was incorrect. So I think that was a good statement that somebody would look into it first and get the correct details from different people and from documents. So I think that was correct because I myself wouldn't like to say or comment anything on anything without looking at the details first.
So, Mahar, how different is Project NOAA now that it is under UP compared when it was with the Department of Science and Technology?
Well, as I said earlier, we used to be part of the NDRRMC and we were part of the Department of Science and Technology, who is the chair or he's the head of the Disaster and Prevention Cluster of the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. So, in short, we had the backing of an authoritative agency. And during that time, when we were part of the NDRRMC pre-disaster risk assessment, we were able to provide information that were generated by a lot of researchers, and that information was in turn converted by NDRRMC into warnings that were hazard-specific, area-focused, and time-bound. By time-bound, I mean it's within the 6 hours, 3 to 6 hours frame. It's shorter than the forecast information, but it's meant really to supplement the forecast because that's days in advance.
So
And
Mahar,
what's different is that it's hazard specific, whether it's a flood or a landslide, and it is area focused, not
Yes.
the general warnings of several provinces being asked to prepare
Right.
for floods and landslides.
And,
Because that would create the cry wolf effect.
And,
Yes.
and Mahar, these typhoons that have been happening over the past month from Quinta to Roli and to Ulysses have really added misery to many communities who at the same time are trying to deal with this COVID-19 pandemic.
That's right. That's what we call as compounded hazards. It's very difficult to go to evacuation centers because many people fear that in those evacuation centers it's crowded and there's a high chance of getting COVID-19 or getting infected from COVID-19. So that is a compounded problem, which we call as part of the study of complex hazards and compound hazards. So I agree that that has really complicated the problem about how we handled Rolly, Ulysses, and as well as Shoni and Tonyo.
So briefly, what must the government do more at this point to identify areas that would be hit by hazards at a particular time?
I would suggest that we bring back all of those efforts that were working. They actually, from 2014 to 2017, averted about 15 disasters because on top of the forecasts, NDRRMC were giving warnings that were hazard-specific, area-focused, and time-bound that were collected or generated from the processing of near real-time data. These are the sensors that were deployed in the entire Philippines, almost 2,000 sensors composed of weather stations, rain gauges, and water level sensors. I think that was critical in averting at least 15 disasters or potential disasters.
And to avert more disasters, Mahar, do we need a disaster resilience department?
Excuse me, I didn't hear that last part. The Department of Disaster Resilience.
Mahar, to avert more disasters going forward, do we need a Department of Disaster Resilience?
Well, the Republic Act 10121 Summit Review, which was made, I think, about 2015 or 2016, or maybe as early as 2014, the recommendations of all of the disaster practitioners and stakeholders was to establish some kind of institution, maybe an authority. Now it's called as a department. But whatever is going to happen, if ever we create that, I would wish two things included in that act or new act. One is availability of open data. Data must not be in silos. They must be shared if we are to follow the Sendai framework of a whole of society approach and a science-based approach. And the other thing that I would like to be included is probabilistic risk assessment. So instead of just the historical record or worst case historical record, we should, through technology and science, generate scenarios bigger than what we have experienced, including climate change. Because if we fail to anticipate those bigger events than what we remember or what is in the historical records, then we will get surprised. And when many people get surprised, that is the time that we have disasters. So we have to plan across all sectors, environment, tourism, energy, infrastructure, etc. Plan with hazard maps that are that reflect the bigger events than the historical record, and that is called probabilistic hazards assessment.
Thank you so much for this resilient exchange. Mahad Lagmay, the Executive Director of the UP Resilience Institute.